Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'd like to recognize two special people. My brother and his wife, Dick and Diane, for 50 wonderful years of marriage. Congratulations, Dick and Diane. Love you both.
Here's to good friends, the ones we hold dear, the ones who will tell us what we need to hear, the ones who love us, right or wrong, and to all those good friends who give you this song.
Well, hello, good friends, and welcome back to The Last Walk. Remember When? With your host, Ron Baumbach. And we're going back in time to our mind, back in the days of the words and the things we saw when we were kids, running around the playground, and some of the expressions we heard way back when. So get up, get off your Castro convertible, go over to the fridge, take out that Hershey's chocolate syrup, put it in a cool, cold glass of homogenized and pasteurized milk. Start stirring it so it's good and smooth. Reach up, go to the cupboard, take out a devil's dog, open it up, sit back, turn on your lava lamp. The Last Walk is back.
Here's to good friends, the ones we hold dear, the ones who will tell us what we need to hear, the ones who love us, right or wrong, and to all those good friends who give you this song.
Today we're going back into the words and expressions and the things we saw in our day. And my thanks to a good friend Joe and a friend of his Judy who sent along these comments. I appreciate the additional fodder for the food for our minds. Let me ask you a question. Would you recognize the word Murgatroyd? Heavens of Murgatroyd. They're lost words from our childhood. Words gone as fast as a buggy whip. It's really sad, isn't it? Sad, sad, sad. Well, the other day, a not-so-elderly, 65-year-old lady says something to her son about driving a jalopy. He looked at her quizzically and said, "Mom, what in the world is a jalopy?" Oh my gosh, a new phrase. He had never ever heard of the word jalopy. Now, she knew she was old, but not that old. So hope you're hunky-dory after hearing this next article by a gentleman who wrote it named Richard Lederer. About a month ago, I illuminated some old expressions that have become obsolete because of the inexplorable march of technology. These phrases included, "Don't touch that dial," "carbon copy," "You sound like a broken record," and "hung out to dry." Back in the olden days, we had a lot of moxie. We put on our best bib and tucker to straighten up and fly right. Heavens to Betsy. Gee Willikers, jump in Jehoshaphat. Holy moly. We were in like Flynn and living the life of Riley. And even a regular guy couldn't accuse us of being a knucklehead, a nincompoop, or a pill. Those are the words I tell my grandkids, and they think I'm crazy. I also use the word goon, which they don't like. Not for all the tea in China, they don't like it, baby. Now, back in the old days, life used to be swell. But when's the last time anything was swell? Swelling now means, uh-oh, something's wrong. Something's swollen. Swell has gone the way of beehives, page boys, and the DA of spats, knickers, fedoras, poodle skirts, saddle shoes, and pedal pushers. Oh, my aching back. Kilroy was once here, but he isn't here anymore. We wake up from what surely has been just a short nap. And before we can say, "Oh, I'll be a monkey's uncle," there's a fine kettle fish of fish, or a fine kettle of fish. We discovered that the words we grew up with, the words that seemed omnipresent as oxygen, have vanished with scarcely a notice from our tongues and our pens and our keyboards. How about the typewriter, the royal typewriter. That's gone by to the keyboard of our iPads. Poof, go the words of our youth, the words we left behind. We blink, and they're all gone. Where have all those phrases gone? Where are the flowers gone? Long gone, pshaw. The milkman did it. Hey, it's your nickel. Don't forget to pull the chain. Knee-high to a grasshopper. Well, it's fiddlesticks. I'm going like 60. I'll see you in the funny papers. Don't take any wooden nickels. And heavens a Murgatroyd. It turns out there are more of these lost words and expressions than Carter has liver pills. This can be disturbing stuff. We of a certain age have been blessed to live in a changeful time. For each, a child new word is like a shiny toy, a toy that has no age. We at the other end of the chronological arc have the advantage of remembering these are words that once did not exist, and they were words that once strutted their hour upon the earthly stage, and now are heard no more, except in our collective memory. It's one of the greatest advantages of aging. I'll see you later, alligator.
Oh, I've been so lucky and I've been so blessed. In spite of my failings, I've found success. For I've known love and I've known good times, and I have known friendship and written some rhymes.
So who was this Kilroy guy? Remember that when you were a kid? Kilroy was here? What's the real story behind Kilroy? Well, my buddy Joe Brooks passed it on to me. Thanks, Joe. Kilroy is engraved in stone in the National War Memorial in Washington, D.C., back in a small alcove where very few people have seen it. For the World War II generation, this will bring back good, strong memories. For you younger folks, it's a bit of trivia that's part of our American history. Now, anyone born in 1913 to about 1950 is familiar with Kilroy. No one knew why he was so well known, but everyone seemed to get into it. So who was this guy Kilroy? Well, in 1946, the American Transit Association, through its radio program Speak to America, sponsored a nationwide contest to find out who was the real Kilroy. They offered a prize of a real trolley car to the one person who could prove themselves to be the genuine article. Almost 40 men stepped forward to make that claim, but only one, a fellow named James Kilroy from Halifax, Massachusetts, had evidence of his true identity. Kilroy was a 46-year-old shipyard worker during World War II who worked as a checker at the Fore River Shipyard in Quincy, Mass. His job was to go around and check on the number of rivets completed. Riveters were on piecework and they got paid by the rivet. He would count a block of rivets and put a check mark in semi-wax lumber chalk so the rivets wouldn't be counted twice. Now, when Kilroy went off duty, the riveters would erase the mark. Later on, an off-shift inspector would come through and count the rivets a second time, resulting in double pay for the riveters. The guys loved it. They made extra money. Now, one day, Kilroy's boss called him into the office. The foreman was quite upset by all the wages he was being paid to the riveters and asked him to investigate it. What was going on? Fix it, Kilroy. Check it out. It was then he realized what had been happening. The tight spaces he had to crawl into to check the rivets didn't lend themselves to lugging around a paint can and a brush. So Kilroy decided to stick with the waxy chalk. He continued to put his check mark on every job he inspected, but he added something different. Kilroy was here, in king-size letters, next to the check. And eventually, he added a sketch of that chap with the long nose peering over the fence and that became part of the Kilroy message. Now, once he did that, the riveters stopped trying to wipe away his marks. Ordinarily, the rivets and the chalk marks would have been covered up with paint. With the war going on, however, ships were leaving the Quincy yard so fast there wasn't time to paint them. They were silver. As a result, Kilroy's inspection trademark was seen by thousands of servicemen who boarded the troop ships as the yard produced. His message apparently rang a bell with the servicemen because they picked it up and spread it all over Europe and then on to the South Pacific. Now, before war's end, Kilroy had been there, here, and everywhere on the long hauls to Berlin and Tokyo. To the troops outbound in those ships, however, he was a complete mystery. All they knew for sure was that some guy named Kilroy had been there first. Now, as a joke, some U.S. servicemen began placing the graffiti wherever they landed, claiming it was already there when they arrived, putting their own mark, Kilroy was here. Kilroy became the first U.S. super GI who had always been wherever GIs went. He was there first. It became a challenge to place the logo in the most unlikely places imaginable. It is said to be atop Mount Everest, the Statue of Liberty, the underside of the Arc de Triomphe, and even scrawled in the dust on the moon. As the war went on, the legend grew. Underwater demolition teams routinely sneaked ashore on Japanese-held islands in the Pacific to map the terrain for coming invasions by U.S. troops, and thus presumably were the first GIs there. On one occasion, however, they reported seeing enemy troops painting over the Kilroy logo. They painted over the logo. In 1945, an outhouse was built for the exclusive use of President Roosevelt, Joseph Stalin, and Winston Churchill at the Potsdam Conference. Its first occupant was Stalin, who came out, walked out of the outhouse, went over to his aide in Russian, and he said, "Who is Kilroy?" To help prove his authenticity in 1946, James Kilroy brought along officials from the shipyard and some of the riveters. He won the trolley car, which he gave to his 9 children as a Christmas gift, and set it up as a playhouse in the Kilroy backyard in Halifax, Massachusetts. And rumors are he was also outside the house of Osama bin Laden when that crazy guy met the maker.
Life is too short, we get only one turn. With what we find beauty, but we sometimes get burned. But if you've had a true friend, or perhaps love, you've experienced the peace of heaven above.
You've been listening to The Last Walk. Remember when? We did Kilroy, Murgatroyd, all these folks from our past. What's your favorite expression from yesteryear? What do you think back of when you hear the word, holy smokes, holy cow, it's out of here? That's a mighty fine show you got on there this week, Ron. This is Benny from Britain. I gotta say it was really boss. Thanks for the production. Hey, thanks a lot there, Bernie. Thanks for calling in. The Last Walk, Remember When, is hosted by Ron Baumbach. The song you've been hearing is Here's to Good Friends, written, composed, and sung by my good friend Paul Cusson. And the audio enhancement is done by the wonderful Mike in his studios in the great state of Tennessee. Thanks so much. We appreciate all your efforts, Mike. If you're interested, we also do presentations based on the music, the people, places, and things of the 50s and 70s. It's an enjoyable journey, and we basically interact with the attendees to make it a memorable stroll. If you're interested, reach out to Ron, and we'll do our best to be there. Have a great week. See you next time on The Last Walk, Remember When.
Here's to good friends, the ones we hold dear, the ones